I'm so thrilled to be co-facilitating today's talk about time management. We are having a conversation about the time management myth and practical time success strategies for graduate students. Again, I'm Dr. Ashley Adams, and I'm joined by my co-host. This will be an interactive and engaging session, and Dr. Toyin and I are just excited to welcome you into this space. We wanted to start off by sort of centering you into the space. So I'm going to invite you, if you are able, to put your feet flat on the floor. So if you're able, if you would put your feet flat on the floor. I invite you to release your shoulders. So if you want to go ahead and just push those shoulders down, push them down away from your ears. Maybe you've been sitting at a desk all day, so you really need to push those shoulders down, get them super duper relaxed, push them down, push them away from your neck. I want to invite you to put your hands in your palms. So go ahead if you feel comfortable, and if you're able, if you would put your hands in your palms, or hands in your lap, palms up. Go ahead and just put those in your lap. And then let's just take a couple deep breaths, because we're going to really learn a lot today, and we want to center ourselves. We want to get laser focused. So I invite you to just breathe in with me. And then breathe out. Go ahead and release it. Nobody's listening, girl. It's fine, guy, folk, person. Go ahead and just release that. So we're going to just breathe in really deeply again. So go ahead and just release it. I invite you to get super focused. We're going to spend the next 55 minutes learning and sharing and growing. And I just want to invite you to do that with us. Like I said, this is going to be super interactive. Dr. Toyin and I are just going to be talking with you. We're going to be sharing some of our promising practices, and we're going to be asking you to engage and learn. So I invite you to close your other browsers. I invite you to just get laser focused, because we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this conversation. Let me see here. I'm going to share a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to invite my co-presenter to share a little bit about herself. So again, my name is Dr. Ashley Adams. I have more than 10 years of professional experience in corporate, nonprofit, and education leadership. And I shared in the chat that I currently am the Director of Student Affairs at a Research One institution in the Northeast. I love my job. I'm so passionate about it. And I really have great gratitude to be able to do what I love every day. Outside of my work at an institution, I also am the founder and co-host of School and Life podcast. School and Life is a weekly podcast about life, love, and occasionally libations. My co-host and I often drink when we record the podcast. So we often we talk about our libations. And then in addition to that, I also run a mentoring platform. It's called Mentor Me. And you can learn more about that at mentor-me.org. I'll put that in the chat as well. And I'm really intentional about career development for Black women. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And I spend a lot of time helping Black women in particular, and women of color more generally, really manage up at work, increase their visibility and impact, seek increased financial benefits, and transition between and among careers. So with that, I'll invite my my co-presenter to introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. I am Toyin Ali. I'll be sharing more about myself in my slides. So briefly, I got my PhD in math in 2016, and now I am a lecturer at the University of Georgia. And I also create content with my platform called the Academic Society. So I'm really excited to share with you all, but I will let Dr. Ashley continue with her portion of the presentation, then with you later.
Great, thank you. So I thought whenever I'm doing presentations, I always like to think about who you might be, because certainly, you know, we're sort of on this platform and we're talking about who we are, but I want to sort of talk about who you might be as well, and what you might be struggling with. And so let me know in the chat if you can identify with any of these. So maybe you're a high achieving new graduate student who's coming out of undergrad, whether it's been a short time or a long time, and you're worried if you'll be able to fit it all in. Or maybe you're a current graduate student who constantly feels overwhelmed and frustrated, who never feels like they have enough time. Or perhaps you're a graduate student who has tried every time management strategy imaginable, but you still regularly feel like you're falling behind in your work. Or maybe you're a graduate student who suffers from imposter syndrome, not sure that you'll be able to do it all. So let me know if you're like, girl, 1 through 4, that's where I'm at. If you're like, really, I'm just at a 3 right now. If it's 1 and 4, let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to know how you're responding to this. So, okay, Tria says 2 through 4. Okay. Natasha says 2 and 4. Okay, 2 and 4. Lots of imposter syndrome. I get that. Janice says 1 and 2. And I also want to invite you to be brave in this conversation. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and just type it in the chat. If you feel uncomfortable with any questions that I ask or any ways that I'm asking you to engage, don't hesitate to go ahead and just type it privately to me, because I still want you to feel like you can be engaged and included. Okay, so 1 through 4, Gabrielle, thank you for sharing that. Abigail says a 4. Okay, so lots of folks struggling with imposter syndrome. Well, I'm not glad to hear that, but I understand that. I too am challenged with that, even where I am in my career right now, and I'm going to address that as we kick it off. So we're going to address that right away. Yeah, okay. Jordan says definitely a 4 for sure, 2 and a 4. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much. That's really helpful and helps me just get to know you all as much as you all will get to know me. That's awesome. Thank you. So in today's webinar, we're going to address who you are, where you are, and where you want to be as a graduate student. I'm excited to affirm who you are and how you show up in graduate school. We'll talk a little bit about why time management is a myth, share some of our personal stories with time, our promising practices about what's really worked well for us with our time, and then we're going to have a hot seat at the end and invite you to answer questions of us directly, ask questions of us directly, and we promise to use plenty of time. We'll also be talking throughout about how you can stay connected with us. So let's address this imposter syndrome. We're just going to kick off with the truth. So the truth is that you are good enough, right? The truth is that you're good enough. And actually, chances are you're probably overqualified, but let's start the week off humble, right? It's Monday. So let's go ahead and be humble. We just gonna keep it cute and say that we're good enough. And I want you to own that. I want you to, and you've done the hard work. You're so good that you are even trying to be better. That's why you're in a professional development workshop on a Monday night with 56 of your closest friends, because you're so good that you're trying to get better. Wow. Look at you. Look at that. Like, think about how impactful that is, that you're so good that you're committed to being better. That is so powerful. And I want you to know that. I want you to own how good you are. And honestly, what's true is that you're probably overqualified, right? Right, you know that, right? You do this, but it's cute. We're gonna keep it cute. It's Monday. We're gonna start the week off humble. And I want you to own that. I want you to sit with that. And I want you to know the truth of your experience. So why is time management a myth? So time management is a myth really because you're not in charge of time. It's not yours alone. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. And that is there's so much mourning with that. There's so much mourning with the fact that time is not your own. Even for those who are least coupled of us, right? The folks who don't have children, who don't live with their parents, who don't have appendages that are holding them back and managing their time, it's still not ours alone, right? And so reconciling with that is so important. And I think when it comes to this idea of time management, I encourage you to shift your mindset from management to planning. And I'm going to talk to you about some of those best practice planning strategies as we go throughout. But I encourage you to shift your mindset. That often I talk about reputation. This is particularly to those 4s in the house. Shout out to the 4s who often feel like they have imposter syndrome and they're really struggling with that. And I tell them that your reputation is not something that you own, but it is something that you manage. I'll say that again, Alonta, so if you want to grab that tweet. Your reputation is not something that you own, but it's something that you manage. And so you have to manage and broker and navigate your reputation. But time is not the same. Time is not really something that you can manage. You can't dictate to time. You can plan time though. Dr. Toyin and I are excited to talk to you about some of our promising practices related to that. And I want you to be, when we start to talk about time, I'm going to tell you about how I successfully, support 20,000+ students who study online at our one institution. And I'm going to tell you how I run a very successful award-winning podcast that has nearly 100,000 downloads. And I'm going to talk to you about how I successfully mentor tens of women every month through my mentoring platform, how I have a marginally successful relationship with my partner, how I be well, but I still want you to be super focused on grace and providing yourself grace, because I provide myself a lot of grace, but I don't provide myself with excuses. I plan my time, I do the hard work, and I give myself grace where I must, but I do not use excuses to make up for the lack of planning. And I want to encourage you to do the same. And then finally, we all have the same amount of time, but we do not have the same amount of resources. You all should know of me that Beyonce is my biggest mentor. She is my biggest mentor. Nobody works harder than Beyonce. I admire women who are good at their job, and Beyonce is good at her job. Child, she is good at her job. She does her work. And I admire that, but I hate the memes that are like, you have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. Girl, no, I don't. I don't have the Beyonce got different time. Like Beyonce has different resources. Thus Beyonce has different time, right? And so like I want you to like yes, we have all the same time, yes, but we don't have all the same resources. But I promise you the resources that I'm going to be sharing with you today are going to be things that you have access to. These are things that we can do today. And so you should be inspired by that, because nothing that I'm going to teach you today is beyond your reach. You remember, right? Like you're good enough. In fact, you're probably overqualified, but then we get to where we are. So let me know if you're tracking with me. If this makes sense, if you're like, yes, Ashley, this is making sense. Like, yes, I got it. I understand that this is a myth. Like, I'm going to break down my mindset around this and really focus on planning my time, not trying to manage it. Let me know if you're tracking. So like, you feel free to just type a 1 if this is making sense. Type yes, got you. I'm headed where you're headed. Let me know. Okay, so Stacy is headed where I'm headed. Troy is, Princess is, Jayla is, okay, Janine, Jordan is, Marcy is, okay, makes lots of sense, Patrice says. Wonderful. Okay, this is so helpful. Thank you for interacting and engaging. I see that y'all feet are flat on the floor. Like, y'all got me. So thank you for staying with me through this conversation. I'm so glad that we're on the same page. Okay, so now let's talk about some strategies. So the first strategy that for me is super essential with time management is calendar blocking. So I stand a calendar block, like literally stand. I love planning my time. When I tell y'all, my big grown self has a calendar on the refrigerator that I write in every Sunday, and I like block out my time and use colored pens and like get it all together. I also have my Google Calendar. I have a list of to-dos, which I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit. But I love calendar blocking. And so this is the idea of calendar blocking is basically assigning your time task. My days, my time is typically planned, let's see, probably from 6:30 a.m. to like to 9 o'clock at night, every Monday through Friday. And then Saturdays I plan till 2, and then Sundays I plan till 2, which means that like most of my time in a week, right, is planned. And that's intentional. And that doesn't mean I'm busy all that time. Let me be clear. Planning does not mean busy. Planning does not mean productive even. Planning does not mean I'm doing the things. It just means that it's planned. And blocking my time, assigning my time a task is so critical, because it means that I am giving my time a responsibility, and I am holding myself and the time accountable for reaching said, like owning up to the thing it's supposed to do. Right. So for example, like today I had an 8 a.m. staff meeting with my staff. And then I had a what did I have? I had a 9:30 meeting with my supervisor and my boss and my supervisor's supervisor, my boss's boss. And so I knew I had like those meetings, right? And like your calendar probably works similarly, right? You'll have your classes, you'll have your graduate assistantship, you'll have like cohort meetings or whatever, but then you will also need to plan other things. You need to go to the grocery store. It's important that you walk the dog. You need to call your, best friend's cousin. Your husband has some Zoom birthday party that he wants you to sit there and pretend like you like these people and you want to engage with them, right? Like you have these things that you have to do. So you need to assign your time tasks. It's important that you put on your calendar, I need 15 minutes before I go into the Zoom birthday party to fix my face, to make sure that I'm like acting engaged and like, I really want to be here right now. And you need 15 minutes after to decompress and try to like not be annoyed that you have to sit there and be like, yeah, the whole time. Right? Like you need to assign your time a task. I really love to schedule time to do nothing. When people are like, Ashley, how do you practice self-care? How do you do it all? I spend a lot of time. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not true. I don't spend a lot of time, but I spend scheduled time doing nothing. And when I say doing nothing, I don't mean like scrolling on Instagram and just like whatever. I literally mean like taking off my bra and staring at the wall. Like time to do nothing. Time to like literally like do nothing. And I see some questions in the chat, so I'm gonna make sure I answer those as I go along. Someone asked, what if a time run over is like writing a paper? So I encourage you not to assign your time task and then to hold yourself accountable for the time that you allowed it. Dr. Marvette Lacey is going to talk to you all next if you're attending the next session. She's a rock star around planning and time management as it relates to writing. But when I was writing my dissertation, I literally would block my time, plan the time, and then I would stop. Even if I was in the middle of a sentence, even if I was in the middle of a good thought, I would write the thought down, but I would stop, because you need to, like, especially if you're beginning to time block, you're beginning to do this, you need to be accountable to the time. You can get more flexible as you become an expert, but I encourage you to really get laser focused on assigning your time task and then doing what you said you were going to do. And it sounds like Lanine, she talks about, I plan out downtime or free time as well. And I think even like assigning like this, for this free time, I'm gonna stare at the wall. For this free time, I'm gonna scroll Instagram. For this free time, I'm going to like call my grandmother or whatever. Like assigning your time task is super important. That is so, it's so critically important that you don't over plan, because you will plan everything and then you'll be disappointed because you forgot that you have to drive there. You forgot that you have to use the restroom, and now you're frustrated because all your time is messed up. Some questions from Noelle is, how much time a day would you recommend doing nothing? I like to do like 8 to 15 minute spurts of nothing. And I like to do odd times. So like 8 minutes of like literally doing nothing, 15 minutes of doing nothing. I wouldn't do nothing for more than like 30 minutes a day, but I'm not like a busybody. So you might need a little bit more decompression, but for me, 30 minutes spread out throughout the day, not like 30 minutes of doing nothing in a block, I would go crazy. But like between 30 and 15, maybe 12 minutes of nothingness is good for me. And Christina, I time block for a week at a time, Sunday to Sunday. And for me, Aisha, I think it's Aisha maybe. No, it does not mean meditating, not for me, but it could mean that for you. It literally means doing nothing. Like, and maybe I'm meditating, I don't know, but I'm not scrolling on my phone, I'm not looking at TV. I'm literally doing nothing. I'm getting quiet. And for me, I'm a believer in Christ. So sometimes God speaks to me in that time, but I'm not praying. I'm not doing anything, because for me, my brain, I need to like not do anything. I need not to have any stimuli. And keep asking those questions as we go. I want to make sure that you're engaged and you're getting your questions answered as we go. And then for me, calendar blocking is really around focusing on the big rocks. Mm-hmm. So, it's rocks, not whatever I put there. So I apologize about that. But, so I think lots of people have different thoughts about time management, and this is why I say it's a myth, because for me, when it comes, for one, you can't manage your time, and if you learn nothing, learn that you cannot manage your time. But what you should know is that when you are planning your time, right, when you're calendar blocking, you need to focus on the big rocks. So often you'll have a to-do list for the day, and you're doing it, and you're doing the work, and you're like da 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 da, and then you like did not pay your car insurance, you did not go grocery shopping, and you did not follow up with your advisor, like on the thing that on the notes that they gave you on your paper or your professor. And so now you're frustrated because you were busy all day but not productive. You were doing things all day. If you think about a jar, right? You think about a jar and you can put big rocks in there, you can put some marbles, you can put some pebbles, some stones, and then you can put sand, and there will still be room in the jar. But if you start with the sand, if you start with the little rocks, if you start with a whole bunch of little random things that you need to do, the jar is full and you have no room for the big rocks. So I really want you to focus on the big rocks when you're calendar blocking. What are the big things that you need to do? What are the non-negotiables in your day? And then I want you to focus on the sand and the marbles and the pebbles. Too often we get like really focused on the little things. And I get it. It's satisfying. I'm going to talk about that. Like, it's satisfying to like, okay, I woke up, I drank my coffee, I answered an email. And I get it. Like, I get satisfaction from that too. But I want you to get super duper laser focused on the fact that you need to complete the big rocks. So satisfies your needs to get things done. I scan a to-do list, and I encourage you to write down all your to-dos, just like I was talking about, like I woke up. I literally write my to-dos like woke up, open computer, because I am an achiever. any achievers in the house? Let me know if you're an achiever like me. I'm like, oh, I want to do things. I want to get credentials. I want to, yes, okay, come Jayla's, Alexia, okay, Andrew, like we're achievers. So go ahead and write down the mundane things and do check those off because that'll give you some energy to do the big things. But also, so satisfy your needs to get things done, but write down the big rocks, write down the big to-dos and then do them, because so often that big thing that you need to do won't take as long as you thought it would if you would just get it done. And I encourage you, this is an insider tip, to keep your to-dos in the same place. So a lot of methods for to-do lists. I know some people like to use their notes app. Some people like to use Post-its. I'm a big fan of a notebook. I love those composition notebooks, or just like, a notebook with an inspirational quote on the front or something, and then keep all your to-do list in there. Because that way, achievers, shout out to the achievers. I see Yolanda as achiever, like Annette as achiever. When you go back, you can just like, I'll be going back and reading like my to-dos from last week. Like, yes, I did do that. Wow. Look at me doing things. Like I keep them all in the same book. So all I got to do is just like go back a couple pages. This will motivate you, achievers, to keep doing the work. So I encourage you to consider that as you are doing that work. It's like an achievement journal. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that, Patrice, but I love that. It is like an achiever journal. Oh, look at me coming up with things. Okay, so accountability and communication, partners in your time management. Even though it is a myth, it is so critically important to have partners in your calendar planning. I think it's so hard though, because you get sensitive, right? You get sensitive about your time, and you working on something, you had a good idea, and yeah, you were supposed to stop at 8, but you just got really excited. And plus you got distracted earlier. So you didn't really do a good job at sticking to the plan at 8 anyway. So now they're telling you, oh, you need to stop at 8 because you said you're going to stop at 8, and now you're mad, and now you got an attitude, and now you don't actually have a partner. This person's about to leave you because they can't deal with your attitude, and they was only trying to help you in the first place. I understand it's hard, but what I am telling you is that you need a partner in your time planning. You need a partner. Someone has got to help you hold you accountable. And for those of you who are internally motivated, shout out to us. Sometimes we don't take on partners because we like, well, I can stop myself. I'm great at this. I can do it. You need a partner. Someone has to be able to say to you, let's go eat now. Let's stand up now. We've been sitting for 6 hours. Let's actually get back focused, because you said you were supposed to be doing this, and I see you scrolling, and I know that scroll. I know that giggle. I know you ain't doing what you said you was gonna do. And when it comes to partners, it's not just like, oh, hey, hold me accountable, but communicate your needs. Hey, can you hold me accountable by giving me a 10-minute warning at this time? Because I need to stop doing this by this time. And I would like the 10-minute warning to come in the form of a text, or I would like you to come over here and tap me on the shoulder, or I would like you to DM me or whatever. Like communicate not only that you need them to be a partner, but communicate exactly what your needs are in the partnership. How can you best hold me accountable? Because like I said, you're going to be mad if they do it in the wrong way. So tell them what you need, and then let them know how they can support you. Don't only ask them for something, but let them know how they can support you. I'm a words of affirmation girl. if you see me work all day, I need somebody to say good job. I mean, again, I'm internally motivated, but I need you to say good job. I need you to help me with that. So like for you, it might be giving you a cupcake at the end of the day or an apple, you know, depending on what your fitness goals are. I don't know. For you, it might be like a handwritten note, or maybe it's like they took out the trash because they saw you were busy, right? But I encourage you to let other people know what they can do to support you. And I'm glad, Martina, that resonated with you, because it's my love language too, girl. So I'm just going to answer a couple other questions in the chat before I turn it over to my colleague. Alexis asks, what do you recommend for partners who live alone and also who do not have a local support system? So I would encourage you to find another graduate student who's not in your program. So see if you can connect with with someone who's not in your program, but is also in a graduate, like maybe a graduate program. That'll help you, because they kind of know the pressures. They know like what graduate school is like, but they're maybe not competition. I know in a lot of grad programs, it can feel like competition. It can feel like, oh, like, you know, they're not supportive. So maybe I think that's a good strategy. Some administrative questions. Accountability is key. Yes. And I saw someone talking about the Pomodoro method. It is the method that I used to write my dissertation. I am a huge fan of it. Awkward and off balance time helps me plan my time better. I love an 8-minute sprint. I love a 17-minute task. I live by that. And I encourage you to consider it. I know that Dr. Lacey's going to talk about it too, but I encourage you to consider that. It's going to be super helpful for you. So before we turn it over to Time Management Hot Seat, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and turn it over to my colleague. She'll talk a bit, and then we're going to come back and answer your most pressing questions about time management.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley. I'm going to share my screen. One moment. All right, so can everybody see my slides? So let me find the chat here. Okay, awesome. All right, it seems like my slides are moving on their own. Hold on. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce myself, share who I am, share a few personal stories, some of my promising practices and additional resources, and then we will answer your questions. Okay, so I am Dr. Toyin Ali, and like I mentioned, I got my PhD in math from the University of Alabama, and now I've landed my dream job. I am a lecturer at the University of Georgia, and I also create content with the Academic Society. I see a Roll Tide in there. I'm curious, is anybody from the Academic Society, from my community here? Let me know in the comments if you are here. I invited them all to join us today. Yes, thank you. I love it. Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys all here. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about my life. Thank you to my mom for making this collage that she shared with my graduation party when I got my PhD. So I am from Starkville, Mississippi, and my whole life I've loved math. Math was the only subject that I ever liked, and I was pretty smart. People always said I was smart. So when people tell you you're smart, they always tell you you should be a doctor or a lawyer, right? And so I just assumed, I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer because I'm very shy, quiet. But I was like, maybe I could be a doctor, but not a scary doctor, maybe like an optometrist or something. So that was my goal until I went to undergrad and I joined an LSAM program as well as the McNair program. Any McNair scholars here? And learned that I could go to grad school and get my PhD and become a doctor that way. All right, so when I went to high school, I actually went to a public boarding school. I went to the Mississippi School for Math and Science, and it was basically like college, but in high school. We took a lot of college classes, and we lived on a college campus. So I got the feel for being in college when I was in high school. And then I went to undergrad at the University of Mississippi. And like I mentioned, I was in McNair. So that top picture is me and some of my McNair scholars when we went to a conference to present our research. Had a lot of fun with my friends. I enjoyed that experience a lot. And then this is me in grad school with my grad school besties, Caitlin and Vinny. We did a lot of activities, had a lot of fun. The reason why I'm showing you these pictures is because notice my face. In all of these pictures, they're the same as my face in the previous phases of life. I'm happy. I'm like enjoying my time. I'm not just studying the whole time. I have time for a social life, making friends, enjoying my life. And that's really the philosophy I like to live by. In the academic society, you guys know that, if you are part of the academic society. So I really believe that you can be successful in grad school and live a fulfilled life at the same time. All right, but how do you do that? It's through time management. Okay, so I will be sharing some practical time success strategies. So these are things that you can just implement right away that can help you manage your time when you're in grad school. Okay, so the two main things that I'll be talking about are structure and prioritization, because I think those are two of the biggest and hardest things to master when you're in grad school. It's gonna be a work in progress, but when you get it, you're gonna be unstoppable. All right, so it's really important to create a structure for yourself when you're in grad school, and it helps you manage your time and your life. And then prioritization, that's really a skill that you have to learn and work at every day to be able to recognize and decide what things are more important than others? What things should I be spending my time on? Okay, so let's talk about the first one, which is structure. Okay, so our whole lives, ever since we've been in elementary school, we've had structure in our lives. We have a course schedule, we have homework assignments, we have deadlines almost every week. In undergrad, you probably had assignments due every single week. So you know, you had to do some work if you were gonna get them done by the deadline. However, when you get to grad school, it's likely that your deadlines will be few and far in between, especially when you get to the stage where you're writing your thesis or your dissertation. You'll have something due months later. So it can be very difficult to figure out, like, how do you motivate yourself to do work when the deadline is so far away? All right, and that lack of structure is really something that helps, that like makes you unmotivated. It's hard to focus because you know there's nothing pressing. So what's really important is to see if you can build your own structure and come up with a structure for yourself and discipline yourself so that you actually follow that structure. All right, so how do you come up with a structure for yourself? Well, you have to know yourself. So when I was in grad school, I decided, okay, I'm gonna start working on my homework the day that it's due, just so I don't get behind. And so I would get my assignments, I would go home and I would sit on my living room floor, I remember, and start doing work. And that would last about an hour before I was over it. And then I noticed when I was working at school, I could work for longer than an hour. So I realized, oh, I am not productive when I'm working at home. I actually have to be in a library, in a study room, in a coffee shop to be productive. And now that I'm working, I see your truth here. Now that I'm working from home, I had to figure out where I could work best all over again because I'm not going places, right? So what I've done is I've set up one half of my living room. I see working from home is killing. I know, it's so hard. I've set up half of my living room is now my office. I have a desk, I have my computer here. I stole my desktop from my office at school. They know I have it. I didn't really steal it. But I know that when I sit here at my desk, this is when I'm doing work. And if I'm not doing work, I'm not sitting here. So I'm training myself that this is the place where I'm getting work done. So I had to figure out where I could work best. So I encourage you to find a place in your home that you can actually work. I see Sarah made her home office really nice and bought a nice comfy couch. Awesome. Also, I had to figure out when I work best. I noticed in the afternoon, I'm just too drained. I can work for maybe an hour, but I get distracted. I'm actually a morning person and I have to get up early if I want to get stuff done. So if I know I have a lot of work to do, I'm going to plan to do that at the beginning of the day, because I know that's when I'm most productive. Let me know, you guys, in the comments. Are you a morning person or a night person? Or maybe you're like an afternoon, evening person. Yeah, it's so important to know when you can work best so you can plan to actually be productive during those times. I see a mix. Oh, I see a lot of night people, but also some morning people with me. Awesome. Yeah, so neither is right or wrong. You just have to know when it is and actually do your work then. And then finally, for structure, it's so helpful to create a daily routine because that's the thing that's going to keep you focused and help you not procrastinate. Because, especially working from home, it's so easy to lay in bed after your alarm goes off, if you even set an alarm. Maybe you scroll on Instagram for a while. Next thing you know, oh, it's 11. I'm still in the bed. Or maybe you get some breakfast and you decide, I'm just gonna watch a quick show on Netflix while I eat my breakfast. 3 episodes later, you haven't started working. Let me know if that sounds like you. But if you create a routine for yourself, you can kind of give yourself a little more accountability. Like if you know every day, I'm gonna start working at 9, so that means you need to get out of the bed probably by 8:30. So that, Tatiana, I'm spilling your life. Yeah, so just setting a schedule for yourself and following that routine can really help you add structure to your life. All right. Okay, so here is my work from home schedule. Feel free to screenshot it if you would like. So as I mentioned, I gotta wake up early. So I wake up at 6:15. Yes, even during the COVID, waking up at 6:15, nowhere to go. I do a devotion and prayer, and then I do a 10-minute morning yoga routine. I really like Yoga with Cassandra on YouTube. That's what I do, and I have breakfast. Then at 7, I co-work, just like Dr. Ashley was talking about. So I have a program called Your Most Productive Week Ever, and it's an accountability program, and we have co-working sessions. So I co-work with some of them in the morning from 7 to 10, and that's when I'm working on school stuff, prepping for my classes. Yes, Andrew is in Your Most Productive Week Ever. I was working with him earlier before the presentation. At 10, I actually switch over and I do another co-working session, but with my business accountability partner. And so at 10, I may still be working on school stuff, but I'm really transitioning into business stuff with the academic society. Then we'll take a lunch break around 12, and then I'll co-work with my accountability partner again until about 3:30, and then I gotta take my afternoon walk. My mom knows I always call her when I'm on an afternoon walk. I have to get outside and get a little movement and walk around my neighborhood, see my neighbors walking around too. And then I come home, make dinner around 5, and from 6 to 10, it's me time. I'm someone who loves me time. I gotta have it every single day for at least a couple hours. So I put that in my schedule to have me time. Thanks, Troy, for answering that question for me. Another academic society member. I'm so glad you guys showed up. And then, yes, I'm preparing for bed at 10, even though we're like in quarantine and I don't have anywhere to go, wake up for. I really still go to bed at 10. My friends were asking me to watch the How to Get Away with Murder episode with them. I was like, y'all, it's bedtime for me. I'm watching it tomorrow. And one of them called me a grandma, but also said that they need to get like me and have a daily routine. So routine is really helpful. All right, do I include meal prep and me time? Kind of. So I like to do meal prep on Sundays. I guess I wouldn't say that's not part of my me time. It's not something I enjoy, so I would not say that's in my me time, Shar. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is prioritization. All right, so how do you know when things are important or not? So you may start off with your daily to-do list, but not everything on your to-do list is in the same level of importance. So it's a skill to try to figure out what things are important, which things are more important than others. So just like Dr. Ashley said, I create a daily to-do list every single day. I love it because you get to see everything that needs to get done at a quick glance. Every day I'm writing a to-do list. But then after I make that to-do list of everything, I've got to narrow it down into a priority list, because the more things on your to-do list, the less likely you are to get any of them done. I like to choose 3 things. So I choose the top 3 things on my to-do list that I feel are important. Things that I feel like if I only do these 3 things, I was productive today. So find those 3 things and work on them first. So if you finish them, of course, that's great. Go on to the next thing. But if you only get those 3 things done, like Dr. Ashley said, offer yourself grace. That's good enough. And then finally, for prioritization, goal setting is really helpful, because there will be a time in grad school when you have a bunch of things due at the same time. You're trying to balance all of these things and everything's happening all at once. And it's hard to figure out, well, what do I focus on? All of these things are important. That's where goal setting comes in. At the beginning of fall and spring semester, I always offer a back to grad school challenge. And in that challenge, we come up with 2 big goals. So I ask everyone to choose for them personally, what are the big goals that they have for the semester? At the end of the semester, if they do these things, they will call that semester a success. So when you do have all of those things that are due at the same time and you can't figure out what to work on first, you can go back to your top 2 goals and work on the things that you already said were important to you. Do those first. All right, so a little mindset thing here. So instead of saying, I don't have time to do this, it's helpful if you reframe it and say, this is not a priority for me. So maybe working out, you may say, oh, I don't have time to work out today. But if you change it to, working out is not a priority for me, maybe that may change your mind. Maybe working out is a priority for you and you need to add in, maybe you have to wake up earlier. Maybe you have to stop doing something, replace something in your day. So I find that changing the words, I don't have time to do this, to this is not a priority for me, is really helpful to see if I'm, just like being lazy. All right. Oh, so actually, Sequoia, if you go to the academicsociety.com/most-productive, you should be able to find it. I'll put a link in the comments later, but remind me. All right, so you guys, pop quiz moment. You know I'm a teacher. Is creating a daily routine important in grad school? A, no, I can just go with the flow. Or B, yes, it will help to keep me motivated and less likely to procrastinate. You guys, you're ready for grad school. You got the right answer. A does happen. A definitely does happen. Awesome. All right. So I just wanted to share some final quick tips for time management. So like I mentioned, time management is a learning process. You're not going to master it right away, but over time, you'll figure out what works for you. And one way to do that is time tracking. So I really like time tracking, just like as an exercise to see what I'm working on, but also to hold me accountable. So you can use a notebook, you can create your own graphs, whatever you want, where when you're sitting down to work, write down the task you're doing and write down how long you spend on it. And that's all you do. And then at the end of the week, you review. Were you spending more time on, I don't know, grading than writing for your schoolwork? All right, so you can see, did you want to spend more time grading than doing your schoolwork? So you can go back and see, was I really doing what I said I was going to do? And how long do things actually take? And that can help you plan your day more realistically. Also, morning and evening planning, so important. As I mentioned, I do a daily to-do list, but also at the end of the day, I like to make a new to-do list of the things that I didn't complete or that I want to get done the next day, just so it's out of my brain. Because sometimes when you're trying to go to bed and you're thinking about all the things you have to do, you can't go to sleep and get your rest and wake up early to do work. So if you get it out of your brain, you can like rest a little easier. And yeah, and you'll feel more rested and you can be more productive the next day. And then finally, reduce distractions and build momentum. So figure out what distracts you. I feel like I may have spelled that wrong, but I can't figure out where it went wrong. Figure out what distracts you, and then figure out how you can manage your attention. So if your phone distracts you with your notifications, maybe you should put it on do not disturb. Or if your family distracts you, maybe you can sit down with them and say, you guys, I'm gonna be working from 10 to 2. I'm gonna put this little note on my door. That means I'm doing real work. Can you please not disturb me? All right, so if you want to screenshot, this is great. Here's where you can find me. I have a Facebook group called the Academic Society for Grad Students. You can find me on Instagram at the Academic Society _, YouTube channel, the Academic Society with Toyin Ali, and I have a grad school prep course. And if you use this link, the academicsociety.com/BLK, you'll get a discount, and you'll also get to see the free training, even if you don't buy the course.
Amazing, y'all. I know we can't really give a whole round of applause, but let's just do there's a clap reaction option. Let's please give our speakers a round of applause, some claps for their amazing information. You all are just out of sight. Thank you so much for sharing so much. Yes, drop them in the chat, the hand clap emoji, whatever. Thank you all both so much. There were a few questions, and y'all, we have 10 minutes to our next session. OMG. So a few questions that I saw that were lingering. First was Sequoia asks, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Passion Planner and bullet journaling. Have you used any of those for calendar blocking?
This is Ashley. I have not. I use my Google Calendar and I calendar block there. I calendar block both my work, my full-time work calendar, and my business calendar with Mentor Me. I take on new mentees and I run a accelerator program. And so I do it on an electronic calendar, and then I manage my daily tasks with a to-do list. I am familiar with them, but I find like using my electronic calendars and my to-do list the best strategy for me.
Great, thank you. Toyin, can you maybe answer the next question for us?
Yes.
Cool. So then someone said, how do you deal with the guilt of doing nothing? I feel like I always have something to do, and now with quarantine, it feels like there's so much more work to be done. So if you have any insight for how do you take the guilt out of like your me time?
Yeah, so like Dr. Ashley mentioned, it's really good to schedule it in. So what I always recommend is actually scheduling your me time first, and then schedule the rest of your life around it. I try to make it a priority. So if I plan for it, why should I feel guilty about it if I know that I have scheduled everything else after, right? If I can do everything else around my me time, then I'm not cutting out of my work time to do my me time. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, you should not feel guilty about it, because when you take care of yourself, you're able to do better work. So it's really productive to have me time, actually.
Thank you. I could not agree more. We're going to bounce right back over to Dr. Ashley, because I think you can totally answer this question. Brandon asks, for any advice for those trying to balance a full-time job and they're not self-employed and graduate school?
Yeah, absolutely. So I completed my PhD the first year. So I was working full time before I started my PhD, and then the first year I quit my job and I took an assistantship, and I didn't work for the first year. And then I realized, oh, this is cute, this is fun, but what's going to happen is I'm going to have this whole PhD and I'm going to be sorely underqualified for the administrative jobs that I want to take, because I'm not going to have the years of experience they required. So in the second and third year, and I finished my PhD in 3 years, but in the second and third year, I went back to work and I was working full time during my doctoral program. And that was the best strategy for me. I was very successful in my program and completed it. holy, but for me, the strategy that worked best was one, calendar blocking. So literally assigning my time tasks was really important. So I literally, like I said, I calendar block my time from about 6:30 to about 9 o'clock at night every day, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sundays. And like I told my employer that I was working, or that I was going back to school, excuse me. And so where I could, I would tie like work projects with my academic discipline. And that worked for me because I was working in higher ed. At the same time, I was earning my PhD in higher education administration. So that helped where you can, if that's possible for you. I also really use my time off effectively. So I would take off like maybe 3 hours every week early. So like maybe I'd leave work on Thursdays at 2 o'clock every other week. So I wasn't able to do it every week, but every other week that would be writing time. And then I would go to the library. It'd take me 30 minutes to get there. Again, I was time blocking every moment. So like 30 minutes to get there, get a snack, get settled. And then from 2:30 to 7, I would write. Then I would take 30 minutes to get home, eat dinner at 8. Like that's how I was managing my time. So I would encourage you to use your time off effectively. So maybe you can take, 3 hours off every other week, or, take like one day off a month, and then that's your writing day, things like that. That's what I did as I was managing my time. And then I also got super honest with everybody that I loved and everybody that knew me. Like, this is going to be a sacrifice. I'm doing an accelerated pattern, which means I'm going to have limited time. Here's how you can support me. You can send me meals, like sign up for HelloFresh for me and then pay for it so that I can eat. That's what I need from you. So like telling people what I needed, like, I don't really need you to call me because I don't have time to talk. Email me. I'm on email all day, girl. Email me. Just like, let's get updated there. That's what you can do for me. So like really telling people what they can do for you is also really helpful.
Perfect. And we're going to have our last question, because believe I have to jump over and make sure our next speaker is ready for us at 8 o'clock. I will drop the link in there again. Toyin, I think that you can answer this question really great for us, really well. Gotta find it. Okay, is there an ideal number? I think you've shared with us before. Is there an ideal number of items for your to-do list? At times I feel like I put too many, other times I don't feel like I put enough. That's from Monica. You're on mute, Toyin. Oh, there you
go. Yes. So I feel like your to-do list will fluctuate. Some weeks there's going to be so much stuff to do, and some weeks there will not be a lot of stuff to do. So it's really good to plan and look ahead. So maybe there's some things you can do earlier if you know you're going to have a busy week coming up. So if you feel like you have less things on your to-do list one week, maybe that's a time to actually try to get ahead for the next week. But yes, looking at a long to-do list is very overwhelming. That's why I do recommend the priority list of 3 things. See if you can get those 3 things done in a day. That's great. If there is more, if you can get those 3 things done, then move on to the next 3 things. But yeah, I don't think there's a certain number, just what overwhelms you and what doesn't.
I love it. I love it. Thank you both again so much. Really quickly, tell us where we can follow y'all on social media.
Absolutely. I'll kick it off. I'm really excited to stay connected with all 178 of you. So please make sure that you follow me on social. You can follow me at Ashley Shire. That's ASHLEYASSHIRE at Twitter and Instagram. So that's a great way to stay connected with me. And then also make sure you check out my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. And I'm so looking forward to supporting you all in the future.
Thank you.
And you can find me at the Academic Society _ on Instagram. And I would love it if you join the Facebook group with all these awesome grad students. It's called the Academic Society for Grad Students on Facebook. And you can also find all my content on my YouTube channel, the Academic Society with Toyin Ali, as well as my website.
Thank you all again. Y'all, if you love this session, which I know you did, head right on over to the next link. I'm dropping it in there. Again, I'm going to let you all in. I'm going to check in real quick with Marvette. Thank y'all. Thank you, ladies, so much. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. I will see y'all in a minute. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.